Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing okay out there this morning. Stayed safe overnight, more importantly. Talking about that severe weather event that was ongoing yesterday afternoon into yesterday evening, into the overnight hours last night. Guys, I go to bed pretty early. 8:30, 9 o'clock is when the West household shuts down. So went to bed pretty early, and just what I was seeing before I went to bed. There was some reported tornadoes. I saw some videos. I saw a little bit of damage out there, but nothing catastrophic or anything like that. Nothing where we had whole neighborhoods destroyed. And I woke up this morning, which I wake up at around 4 a.m. to get my morning routine started. And I went over Twitter, Facebook, and just a lot of things. And I still didn't see anything that was absolutely horrific. So, of course, the sun's coming up on the deep south this morning, and we're going to see a lot more things. But you guys in the comments, please let me know what you're seeing in the communities and towns and cities in Mississippi, Alabama, surrounding states and areas. Let me know. Send some links. And, I retweeted a couple things this morning. I did see it was either a house or a couple houses that looked pretty much destroyed. So in these kind of situations, it's almost impossible to get out of it scot-free, but it always can be worse. So for anybody impacted out there, thoughts and prayers genuinely are out there for you guys. And I really think that this event didn't end up getting quite as bad as what it could have. That's certainly for sure. I can say that with high confidence, and we're all thankful and grateful for that. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to talk about multiple less significant things about what could happen today. Notice I said less significant. There's some active weather ongoing right now, but a weird day. We have a sharp cold front that's not digging very deep, but it is a sharp front, and it's going to, in certain areas, really make dramatic changes from one part of the day to the other. So we're going to talk about that. Lake effect snow machine's going to kick up, strong winds. So we're going to keep you guys updated. If you notice something different on the bed behind me, my bed, that is my sister-in-law's dog. We're watching him for a few days, and he gets his nerves tore up. My dog is the same way, but he gets his nerves tore up, and we have the neighbors' kids in the house. I'm taking them neighbors' kids to school this morning. I do that a couple mornings in the week, so a little bit different. So move my head right. He's just chilling back there. His name is Cam. But anyways, let's get rolling this morning. Check out Water Vapor Loop. If you guys have not subscribed, as always, consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And please put your prayer request down below in the comments so I can pray over it and others can do so too. So, sorry for staying so long on the intro. So, Water Vapor Loop shows it very well. Our system right here still firing off convection in the deep south areas of Georgia and moving into South Carolina right now, even rain all the way up into the mid-Atlantic northeast. This will continue, but you see the dry punch of air behind it. This is a sharp cold front. If you don't know what I mean when I say that, I mean that really from 1 hour to the next, you can go from a very humid air mass to a dry air mass. It's not a several hour shift from feeling one way to the other. I mean, if you got a weather station, you'll notice a huge drop in the dew points. Very sharp cold front. The temperatures will drop, and much colder and drier air behind this. Now, this is kind of a fleeting air mass. It's not going to stick around long, but stay tuned tonight. We're going to talk about, I'm going to give you basically a revised update on what I'm seeing as we get into December. Last day of November. So a lot of people are starting to wonder, are we going to have a wintry scene around the holidays? We're going to give you an update on that tonight because there's a lot of questions starting to come up. Wondering, hey, a couple people said, it's going to be a snowy December, this, that, and the other. There's a lot more that goes into it, and we'll definitely keep you guys updated tonight, so stay tuned for that. Still tornado watch down here for areas of Alabama, Mississippi, and the panhandle of Florida. There's some ongoing tornado warnings right now. We'll take a look at that here in a second, but all these brown areas, it's wind advisories. You got high wind warnings in the really tan areas and almost look kind of like a gold color right here. And then you got winter weather advisories, lake effect snow warnings, winter storm warnings. You got a lot going on in the Northeast and the Great Lakes. Lake effect snow band will set off again off Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. This one off Lake Ontario could jump over a foot of snow in certain areas. So high wind warnings up for basically the northwest slope facing mountains here in Tennessee, areas in North Carolina. High winds will pick up and it'll probably squeeze out a couple flurries throughout the day and nighttime hours. I would not be surprised at all. Storm Prediction Center, the slight risk is up. This is really for this morning. So by the time we get into this afternoon, this evening, this will probably get dropped. This is really for right now. There'll be a tornado risk still there this morning. Wind damage is possible. 50 knots or higher and 25 miles in a given location, 55 to 60 miles per hour. And not much of a health threat anymore with this. So we'll take a look at what's going on right now. Let's look at the radar. Still some very active weather. A lot of lightning, thunder popping off this morning. All these semi-discrete supercells have merged into just to a line of storms. There was a tornado warning. I have a feeling around the Mobile area, I think it was just north, there was certainly a solid signal of a big tornado on the ground around this area. I think we're going to see some damage as we're waking up this morning, unfortunately. And, hopefully it's just not too bad. Hopefully it's not. I'm really hoping it's not. But typically, sometimes when we wake up the next morning, damage sometimes is revealed to be much worse than we actually thought it was. And let's just hope that's not the case. But this is the radar out of Montgomery, Alabama. Worst of the weather has moved through Birmingham, Montgomery, Alabama, and even Atlanta up here. We go on and switch. I don't want to skip you guys, but there's going to be a tornado threat continuing, like for these areas right here, including Tallahassee. We got to watch out because there's still some environment down here that supports severe weather. But this line will continue to push and kind of begin to shift more southeast, but I think it will lose some steam as we go throughout the day. I go, to Columbia, my neck of the woods, and it's been raining all morning, a very rainy morning out there getting my workout in. And here comes a line of kind of a gusty line of storms about to move through, but it's non-severe. It's moving through Augusta right now. You'll notice probably around your AM drive to work that it could get kind of dicey out there, so take it slow. So a nice little line of storms moving through that could pack a little bit of a punch, but just some gusty winds. It's going to keep on blowing all the leaves off the trees. And just stay safe out there. Take it slow. Anywhere in the Carolinas and the Southeast this morning. Really on how this is developing, I would say that actually in real time, it's a little bit ahead of schedule, actually. So the HRRR model is a little bit behind, but this will continue throughout the morning hours. We get to around lunchtime. This line of storms is still kicking in southeast Georgia and areas of the Big Bend of Florida, but it will begin to weaken. And by the time we get to dinner time, guys, it's just some isolated showers and storms, and you still got some showers here in eastern areas of North Carolina, southeast Virginia, Delmarva area, but not a big deal. It moves on out. Northeast, tricky day today. You already got winter weather advisories for what's going on right now in Maine. You got some light freezing rain kind of falling, probably putting a glaze on everything. But what's going to go on is throughout the day in the Northeast, winds are going to pick up. It's going to become very gusty around Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and then as we get later in the afternoon, New York City, Boston, strong winds are definitely going to be accompanied by this rain. And it's because it's such a sharp cold front that's moving through, and this moves through. We'll stop this around lunchtime. You got heavy rain moving through New York State, Pennsylvania State College area, rain, New York City, the interior areas of the Northeast. This continues to move through, but really this is such a sharp cold front that cold air is trying its darnest to catch up with this moisture. So really in areas like Buffalo Point South and just western New York State, northwest Pennsylvania, heavy rain will move through and immediately cold air will usher through, and you'll go from heavy rain to potentially just snow showers. And then this moves through so fast, and I don't want to skip the heavy rain. This is a lot of heavy rain that's going to fall in Vermont, New Hampshire, places like that. The only areas that could squeeze out some snow from this first batch of moisture is these higher elevations in New York State. But this moves through, a lot of gusty winds, strong winds, 40 to 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. Maybe a little embedded line of storms forms in all this rain right here. And this is really the cold front right here. This will probably move through New York City right around rush hour, and then move through Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, all the way into Maine throughout dinner time as you're heading to bed throughout areas of Maine. But immediately behind it, guys, almost immediately, cold air rushes over the warm Great Lakes of Lake Erie, Ontario, And the lake effect snow machine kicks off. Erie, several inches of snow is possible. Nothing compared to what we saw a couple weeks ago with that lake effect snow event. But these lake effect snows, they kick off as early as mid-afternoon this afternoon, and they continue. They don't last long, especially for Lake Erie. But for Lake Erie, a lot of heavy snow is going to fall in a relatively short amount of time into the overnight hours. So, it's funny. It's wild. And you can also see some snow flurries also, snow showers in southeast Mass, Rhode Island, places like that. A lot of people, are wondering, New York City, Boston, is it, are we going to get our first snow? When are we going to see it? Well, I can tell you guys, there is going to be the possibility for a mid-December pattern flip that could be substantial. And we'll talk about that tonight. But Lake Ontario will continue to fire off until tomorrow. And then I think sometime, we're getting into tomorrow, by the way, sometime tomorrow afternoon, lake effect snow will chill out. But snow, let's talk about winds. Winds, and this is the National Weather Service, very, very windy in the higher elevations of Virginia, North Carolina, and Tennessee. But as we're getting into about mid-morning, Washington, D.C., I'm talking about 30, 40 mile per hour winds, gusting, not sustained, and just an area of very strong winds. Moves through Pennsylvania, New York State. It starts to pick up in New York City, Long Island, 40, 50 mile per hour winds as possible. And then this begins to move into southern New England. Let's go on and just move up to New England. And this is right around late afternoon, early evening. Look at this, 40, 50 mile per hour winds, power outages as possible. I know this area knows all about strong winds, but just if you got a little time this morning, you didn't do it yesterday evening, I'm telling you, fasten everything down. If you got Christmas decorations out there, it's going to blow those loose things around. Very strong winds, even into Maine. 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds. You already know Mount Washington is going to be going crazy. So I wouldn't be surprised if they pick up 100 mile per hour wind gusts. It's just a different world up there. It's always wild. It's just crazy. Mount Washington here in the interior Northeast has some of the wildest weather on planet Earth. It's odd, but it's over, I think, over 6,000 feet up in the air, and it's pretty wild, the weather that can be so much different several thousand feet up in the air. But sometime probably later this evening, laying the kids down to bed here in Boston and the surrounding areas, there's going to be a period where 40, 50, 60 mile per hour winds. As I mentioned, it's going to move through. This moves on out, and then the winds continue to keep kicking with these lake effect snow bands. And there's going to be another area of strong winds. We'll talk about that tonight. That's going to move through. So 2 rounds. The one starting this afternoon. Snow popping off the eastern end of Lake Ontario, over a foot is possible. More snow is going to be falling in this area, kind of reinforcing what's left of the snowpack. No snow for really Buffalo today. I'm sure you guys will see some flurry snow showers, but really it's going to be Erie to just south of Buffalo, and there's going to be an area where 4 to 7, 8 inches of snow could fall. But really, you look up here, see if I can do this on the fly here. Go down to Syracuse, see how much snow y'all could get. Not really any in Syracuse, but just north of these areas, Watertown could get a lot of snow today for sure. So moving to the south central U.S., certainly a much quieter day, a cooler day, very cool temperatures in place. But nothing going on. But very cold air mass. Areas like Denver is going to be very cold today. Up in the north central U.S., lake effect snow firing off Lake Superior. Even some lake effect snow will try to fire off Lake Michigan. There'll be some kind of flurries, snow showers throughout Michigan today. But you get into the UP of Michigan with Lake Superior enhancing snow. So winter storm warning for these eastern sections of the UP of Michigan, where several inches of snow could certainly fall today. We look at how much snow could be expected between now and tomorrow morning. And, certain areas could I definitely could see certain areas picking up close to a foot. Central areas of the UP of Michigan, not as much, but you can tell there could be some snow showers in Michigan today. But several inches of snow expected in the eastern sections of the UP of Michigan. So I'll start this off this morning looking at temperatures, and really I want to show you guys the moving air mass in place. So this is this morning. Look at the cold temperatures from basically Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, Oklahoma, points northwest. Frigid air mass in place, single digits up here in the northern plains and areas of the Rockies. This air mass will be moving. So there's areas today where the temperatures will be dropping throughout the day. Birmingham, Huntsville, Alabama, Even Atlanta, the front will move through right in the middle of the afternoon in Atlanta, and you might rise all the way into the 60s and then drop into the 50s and 40s by the time you're heading to work. And this will move through the Carolinas throughout the afternoon hours, and a substantial temperature drop happens behind it. And you can actually really tell if you look at dew points, but high temperatures today, it's just going to be very tricky. It just depends on the time of the day, but this is high temperatures, the warmest part of the day. It's going to rise quickly into the 70s in the Carolinas and areas of Georgia today. Very warm day ahead of the front in Florida. I'm talking about 80s. Somebody might hit 90 degrees in Florida today, but I could tell you, 3 p.m., it might be just only in the 30s in Nashville, Little Rock in the 40s. So very cold air mass moving in, but it's not going to last very long. We'll talk about that tonight. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Stay safe out there, and talk to you tonight.